own discretion. That is without the advice of the Council of Ministers. That is, we can say that there are certain situations in which the president can act on his own discretion. He can act on his own discretion. That is without the advice of the Council of Ministers. इसी को discretionary power of the president भी बोलते हैं. Remember it, this is also referred as the discretionary power of the president. The first one is appointment of the Prime Minister when no party has a clear majority. When no party has a clear majority in the Lok Sabha. Okay? Or when the Prime Minister in office, okay, when the Prime Minister in office dies suddenly and there is no obvious choice. This one basically happened when Gyani Jail Singh was the president and Srimati Indira Gandhi, she died suddenly because of that attack. Okay. So Gyani Jail Singh, what he did was that he appointed Rajiv Gandhi as the Prime Minister of India. Okay. Second, dismiss the Council of Ministers when it cannot prove its majority. Dismiss the Council of Ministers when it cannot prove the confidence. Okay, when it cannot prove the confidence of the Lok Sabha. So here also the president has discretionary power. And third, dissolution of the Lok Sabha when Council of Ministers have lost its majority in Lok Sabha. So these are the three grounds on which we can say that the president has discretionary powers. Yes, anyone who has any doubts with regard to the president? और सारे powers आपके पास आ गए होंगे president से related. ठीक है? Okay. Got it? Okay. Now, when you are talking about the president, one or two things you have to remember. That Article 61, you can write it down, it's for your exams. Article 61, impeachment of the president provision is taken from US Constitution. Impeachment of the president is taken from US Constitution. Then second schedule deals with emoluments, allowances, and privileges of the president. Second schedule of the Constitution, it basically deals with emoluments, allowances, and privileges of the president. Okay. Then first serving, for your exam point of view, all of you must remember the sequence with regard to the presidents in India. क्योंकि chronology आता है, remember chronology आता है. जैसे first president, ठीक है, chronology of president. First is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. First president is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. 13th May 1952 से 13th May 1962. 13th May 1952 से 13th May 1962. And remember, longest serving president. ठीक है, longest serving president है. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the longest serving president. And he was also the president of Constituent Assembly. Dr. Rajendra Prasad के बाद second is S. Radha Krishnan. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. He is 13th May 1962 to 13th May 1967. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Okay. He was also the Vice President of India. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, he was also the Vice President of India. Okay. And he was also the Chancellor of Andhra University and Banaras Hindu University. Third, Zakir Hussain. Zakir Hussain, 13th May 1967 to 3rd May 1969. Now, he was elected Vice President in 1967 and, we can say that tortoise serving, okay, he's a tortoise serving president and passed away while in office. Office means his tenure was there, Zakir Hussain, and we can say the first Muslim to be a president. Okay. So Zakir Hussain, and we must remember he is a we can say recipient of Padma Vibhushan and Bharat Ratna. Then fourth, it is V.V. Giri. The fourth is V.V. Giri, 3rd May 1969 to 20th July 1969. And then 24th August 1969 to 24th August 1974. R. Venkataraman. मैंने बोला भी भारत नाथ को, ठीक है, of the Union Government, and Article First President from Schedule 5. ठीक है, First President from Schedule 5. ठीक है, and first President to be born after India's independence in 1947. So first president who was born after India's independence and became a president in 1947. Clear, everyone? ठीक है, तो इससे हमें पता चलता है कि there were 3 interim presidents and 14 full-time presidents. Remember it, 3 interim presidents and 14 full-time presidents. Clear सबका? Yes, everyone, come on. Is it clear to all? चलो आगे बढ़ते. Now today we will go on with vice president. Because all of you must know that vice president is also one of the executives of the Union Government. And Article 63 to 71, Article 63 to 71, Part 5 is all about the vice president. Okay? Article 63 to 71, Part 5 is all about the vice president. Okay, clear? So today we are going to do also the vice president of India. So first of all, हम बोल सकते हैं कि when we talk about Article 63, so it says there shall be a vice president of, so second highest office in the country. Okay, there shall be a vice president of India, and one must know that the office of the vice president is modeled. Okay, the office of the vice president is modeled on the lines of vice president of America, but with one difference. But with what? One difference. And what is the difference? After the president office is vacant, the vice president of India holds the office for a temporary period. That is until the new president is elected. मतलब जब इंडिया में प्रेसिडेंट का ऑफिस वेकेंट हो जाता है, then the vice president holds the office of the president, and that too as a temporary, okay, for a temporary period. So he becomes the acting president, okay, until the new president is elected and assumes that. But in America, if the office of the president gets vacant, the vice president, okay, if the office of the president gets vacant, the vice president becomes the president for the unexpired ठीक है, he becomes the president for the unexpired term of his predecessor. जैसे for example, in America, Donald Trump is the president. He will remain president for 4 years. America में tenure for the president is 4 years. India में it is 5 years. If the American president, for by chance, if he resigns from office, for example, for all what he is doing today, if he resigns from office, who is the vice president? J.D. Vance is the vice president. He will automatically become the president. That means if Donald Trump had served president for 1.5 years, then 4 years minus 1.5 years, there is 2.5 years remaining. So for that 2.5 years, now he will become the president. But this does not happen in. That is what is the difference between the president of India and the vice president of India and the vice president of. But the model of vice president we have borrowed from. Then after that, Article 64 is the vice president acts as the ex officio. Okay, he acts as the ex officio chairman of the council of. Ex officio chairman of the Council of States, that is Rajya Sabha. That is Article 64. Okay, so he is the presiding officer of Rajya Sabha. Okay. Okay. Now let's not go into the articles and all. Just कभी-कभी अगर हम इसको solve करने की कोशिश करें, तो first let's talk about the qualification of vice president. Qualification is similar to that of the president. Only is that president में क्या था? Must be qualified to be a member of Lok Sabha. Here must be qualified to be a member of the Rajya Sabha. First is citizen of India. Okay. Then completed 35 years of age. Then must be qualified to be a member of Rajya Sabha. Okay. Must be qualified to be a member of Rajya Sabha. And last, not hold office under union or state authority and even under local authority. Okay, so that is what is. Okay, okay, and when we talk about the election of the vice president, okay, अगर हम election of the vice president की बात करें, तो election में one thing is indirectly elected by the members of the electoral college, having both elected and nominated members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. ठीक है, elected and nominated members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So when we are talking about the election of the president, then indirectly elected by members of the electoral college. Now that electoral college, very good Harshvardhan. Now that electoral college must have both elected and nominated members of the Rajya Sabha. Then its system of proportional representation. Okay, its system of proportional representation, and that too by means of the single transferable vote system. Okay, by means of single transferable vote system, and the voting is secret ballot. Voting जो है, that is secret ballot. Okay, and please remember, members of the state legislature, they cannot vote. Yes, members, both elected and nominated members of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, they can vote. And also, one must remember that the election of the vice president, यहाँ पे in this election, there must be 20 proposers and 20 seconders. ठीक है, 20 proposers and 20 seconders. पहली बात तो ये है, मतलब जो nomination है of a candidate, ठीक है, for the election, मतलब elections of the VP, nomination of a candidate for VP must be having 20 proposers and 20 seconders. Then election date is declared by Election Commission of India, and election officer is the General Secretary of the Rajya Sabha. Sorry, General Secretary, Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, and so what to say, the is 15,000 rupees. ठीक है, जो डिपॉजिट होता है वो आपका 15,000 है. हाँ जी, anyone? ठीक है, so your security deposit is 15,000 rupees with the RBI. ठीक है, 15,000 rupees with the RBI. ठीक है, clear everyone? हाँ जी, हर्षवर्धन, is it clear? ठीक है, got it? And the required vote to win is 50% plus 1. It's 50% plus 1. ठीक है, that is the required vote to win. ठीक है, उसके बाद अगर हम बात करें term of office of vice president, if we talk about term of office of vice president, ठीक है, it's 5 years. Terms of office is 5 years from the date he enters his office. ठीक है, 5 years from the date he enters upon his office. ठीक है, can continue beyond 5 years. ठीक है, can continue beyond 5 years until his successor assumes charges. Until his successor assumes charges. ठीक है, and can resign by writing resignation to the president. That means can resign by writing resignation to the president. ठीक है, and हो जाता है can also be re-elected any number of times. ठीक है, can also be re-elected to that office any number of times. That is eligible है for re-election. ठीक है, that is we can say eligible for re-election. ठीक है, eligible है for re-election. Then let's talk about the vacancy in office. अगर हम बात करें vacancy in office. Now vacancy जो है, first thing is on normal condition. That means if the tenure expires, ठीक है, that is on the expiry of his tenure of 5 years, then elections to fill the vacancy must be held before the expiry of the tenure. ठीक है, तो पहला हो सकता है first on the expiry of his tenure. ठीक है, on the expiry of his tenure of 5 years, and election, ठीक है, election to fill the vacancy must be held, ठीक है, must be held before the expiration of the term. ठीक है, then the second situation, this is the first situation, then the second situation is by his resignation to the president, and that too resignation जो होता है in writing होता है. ठीक है, number third is by his death, and number fourth is by his removal. So on the expiry of his tenure है, then can also remove, can also resign, ठीक है, plus death and all. ठीक है, and in these two cases, remember in these two cases, election for the new vice president must be held as soon as possible. That means अगर president resigns from his office or by his death it is vacant, then the elections to the post of the president, it must be held as soon as possible. ठीक है, and it says that new president, new VP remains in office till 5 years. ठीक है, new VP will remain in office till 5 years. Clear? कोई दिक्कत किसी को? Now, removal में first thing is formal impeachment not required. Formal impeachment जो है, that is not required. And we can say that the resolution, that is, can be removed by a removal resolution, it can be removed by a removal resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by an effective majority. Remember here, यहाँ पे कोई special majority नहीं चाहिए. It can be removed by a resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by an effective majority. ठीक है? And a simple majority in Lok Sabha. Effective majority का मतलब होता है राज्य सभा का number of seats मान लो 245 है, and if मान लो 22 are absent, then whatever is the left seat who are there, they are the effective majority. ठीक है? So by but 14-day prior notice to be served. ठीक है? 14-day prior notice to be served. And when we talk about the grounds of removal, ठीक है? Remember it, grounds of removal of vice president not mentioned in the constitution. Okay, grounds of removal of the vice president not mentioned in the constitution. Okay, clear? And when there is a removal resolution against the vice president, remember it, vice president cannot hold any, he cannot preside over the Rajya Sabha. Okay, he does not have the power to preside over the Rajya Sabha. Okay? And in case of election disputes, the decision of Supreme Court is final. The decision of the Supreme Court क्या है? Final. Okay. Also, election of the vice president cannot be challenged on grounds that electoral college was incomplete. So no one can challenge on grounds that electoral college was incomplete. Okay? And if the election of the vice president is declared void, okay? Void means unconstitutional. Okay? Are declared void by the Supreme Court, then acts done by the vice president before such date of before date of such declaration cannot be invalidated. That means, for example, today the vice president has been declared, his election has been declared void by the Supreme Court. That before this date, whatever acts or decisions he had taken, that will not be declared invalidated. Okay? Okay? Clear? And when we talk about the vice president, then what about the salary? Now, in the constitution, the salary is not fixed, but the amount which the vice president receives is as per the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha. Okay? Okay? So, when we talk about the functions and the powers of the vice president, then the vice president is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. You should remember that. Number one, he is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Okay? That is power and functions similar to that of the speaker of the Lok Sabha. But yes, the speaker has more powers as compared to that of the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Then he acts president, and that too only for a maximum period of 6 months when the vacancy occurs in the office of the president. Okay? Then when he is the sitting president, then when the sitting president is unable to discharge his duties or functions due to absence or illness or any other case, then the vice president discharges the function. 1, 2,